Are you crazy enough to fight against a far superior enemy without many troops to properly defend your lands? Do you still want to win the war despite those obvious disadvantages so you can grow exponentially at a pace that you probably wouldn't have done otherwise? Well, here's the catch. Simply go defensive and make sure to lure the mass majority, if not the entirety, of your enemy to committing to a front. Now, looky what we got here. We got the Dutch East Indies here committing to 2 separate fronts. Now, unfortunately, we are losing on this front, and we're actually going to move in to help out because we don't want to lose. That's not a good idea, but we're also going to separate one single troop, and we're going to keep him back and make sure that he does not go to the front with the other army. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to be prepped, and we're going to be looking for a lovely little target. Looky here. Is that the Dutch East Indies' capital state? Completely unguarded because they moved all of their troops up here to fight me? Why, yes. Yes, it is. Why don't we take that new little army that we just created and then, go down there and navally invade them. And because they're not guarded, well, looky here. They lost right away. We didn't have to do anything. Game over for them, and now all we have to do is move our troops down. I guess one way that we could do that is probably just disband them, and they'll immediately go down. And then we can split them up again, and then we can guard on 2 separate fronts. Just go into defensive mode, split them up, boom, 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 4, done. And you can move up to here. Covered. Now all we have to do is hold the line. Wait for Qing to slowly push back on here, and they will eventually start pushing back on here. And once they do that, we win the war. Hilarious! If they're smart, though, they'll send troops to defend the new fronts. But all you need to do at that point is to hold off and wait for them to take it. Now, you don't have to do it just on the Dutch East Indies. It actually works with other countries. Most notably, Britain. There's a reason why I say Spain is the best country to ally with, especially if you're going against Great Britain. And the reason why I say that is because there is Gibraltar here, and Great Britain has a tendency to send each and every single one of their battalions down to Gibraltar to try to push Spain back so they can win the war quickly. Well, there's a problem when they do that. If they do that, they leave the home countries completely empty, and that's perfect for you to move in and then to take that down with what I like to call delaying cheese. It works with almost every country. You just have to make sure that you can draw them in to a major front. Obviously, this is just one example, but you should be able to make use of it in all examples, and always, always, always look for the capital, because that is the one that gets that war score down. If you show it right up here, well, I guess it won't show up for Kutai, but for the Dutch East Indies, however, it's going to show it definitely for them. There we go, 100%. Just from that. What more do you want? Now, you're probably taking a look at the screen and you're thinking to yourself, Dairuka, what do you mean you won by taking the capital? You're losing on both of these fronts really, really badly. And it doesn't look like you have any chance of coming back either because, they got Lanfang, your capital. It's all over. Well, here's the thing. I might be in a stalemate or even a losing stalemate. This is what I would call a losing stalemate because it's going to take a little while for anybody to get anything done. And eventually they will start to push you back. And that's unfortunate. But there's coastline everywhere. Coastline because we're on the islands. Well, did you know that enemies who are currently engaged in a frontline battle, which is what these guys are doing right now, well, they can't really split off to defend a state. That's why it's perfect for you to create a single unit to effectively navally invade their rear. That's why I call this rearboat cheesing. Now, why would this work? Well, because nobody can defend here. Take a look. Look at this naval invasion right here. It's 0 guards. Let's unpause and take a look at what happens. It's instantaneous. Perfect. But look at this. Oh no, we're losing on this front. Whatever are we going to do? Oh no, I'm so scared. Well, we got 8 days to wait, and hopefully these guys can hold out long enough. And if they can, well, look at that. We just pushed them back completely, and now they can't do anything to stop us. Let's do it again, and then get rid of the entire front completely. Just come on, hurry up, get out of the way. And there you go. There goes the front. The front's gone. Completely gone. It doesn't exist anymore. How about we try it for this front as well? And boom, there goes that front. And let's do it to this front as well. One more. Come on, give it to me, go. Give it. Oh. And done. Now I have their capital, and they have zero chance of taking it back without doing a naval invasion. And even if they do a naval invasion, you know what? I can just keep doing this ad infinitum. And I'm going to do it for my capital, too. Done. Took it from the capital. Boom. Just like that. Let's get rid of this front while we're at it. Another 11 days. That's fine. That's fine. We can wait. We can handle it. Look at that. Now we got this part, too. Okay, how about this guy right up here? Let's see if we can get rid of this front. Might as well. I mean, we're doing good already. Just keep it up. That's all. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm going to cancel that so I don't lose this boat. But that's okay. Now you get the gist of exactly what I'm doing. And I went from losing the war to winning the war. Because now we have the advantage on the front. And we took away all of these other fronts that are in the way. Completely gone. All these fronts are gone. Just from doing something called rearboat cheesing. And it works super good. And you're one more step closer to ending the war, and even if I don't effectively take this area here, the Dutch East Indies will eventually give up, and then I'll be able to take Kutai with no problem. Now we reset things so we could go back to the beginning of that war so I could show you that there's actually a way to make that even more efficient. You're going to discover here that I have two different generals this time instead of just using the one. First off, I'm going to split this one general off there so that he's not actually in the fight. We don't need him yet, but we will make use of him very, very shortly. We're just going to wait for the war to start, and we're probably going to move our troops in, and just like that, we're right back to the same place where we were before. We're going to force them into a defensive battle, and that is a great way to start things off. We're going to win this fight very handedly, no problemo, and during that time, we're going to put this guy in defensive mode, and then we're going to disband this guy so that he goes to the front line. Now, what's going to happen is, by doing this, he's not actually going to be used right away. And, well, after the defensive fight, and they lose, they're not going to attack me right away because they already have 24 here, and I don't want to wait for their morale to recover. So what do I do in this situation? Well, why don't we just pull off some of these troops, shall we? Just split the army up, right-click, station in HQ, and bring the guy that I just brought in to the station. And look at that, we're minus 10 now. And because we're minus 10, they're going to be crazy enough to actually try to attack me again. Now, let me just speed things up to get that started. And there we go. Now we're just going to slow things down, and the reason why we want to slow things down is because once we get to 95, once it hits 95 on the investment progress, you're pretty much guaranteed for a battle. They can't really cancel out at that point. So go to the army that you were just at, this army right here, and then disband them. But don't just do that, because then if you do that and you leave this guy here, there's a chance that he's going to be drawn into the fight and not the guy with the huge amount of bonuses. So what I want you to do right afterwards is to split this guy off of the army, and then right away, you could probably just leave him outside. Oh, crud. We'll just take one troop out of there so we can... maybe, there we go. Now, by doing that, we can do it properly. Station him here, get him out of the way, and by doing that, you now have a pretty much full army and an advantage over the enemy while in a defensive fight, which means the next defensive fight is going to be even more powerful. You're going to do even more damage, and because we pulled this guy out, the guy who doesn't have any defensive bonuses out, this guy was the one who was guaranteed to do the defensive fight, and because he has huge amounts of bonuses, well, these guys haven't got a prayer. No prayer. It's over for them. This is what is known as defensive disband cheese, or DD cheese is what I like to call it because it sounds way cooler that way. And that is a great way to effectively win every single fight, every single time against more superior enemies that should completely decimate you. But instead, Look at the damage we're doing to them. They are 2-1 getting their butts handed to them, and we haven't even gotten to the retreat phase yet. Let's go to the retreat phase real quick and see how much damage we do to them then. Woo! We almost tripled. Yeah, we pretty much tripled the damage just from that. And once more, we're back to 28, and we can do this again. Just disband, bring them in here. Swap out, get rid of these guys, get rid of 2 of these guys. That should be enough to bring us into the minus. And then once more, we're just going to station. And once more, these guys are going to be crazy enough to attack. Just like that. And even if you're too slow, if you saw I was a little too slow there, well, that's okay, because you're still in a defensive battle with your main character, and you're still going to do a ridiculous amount of damage to them. All you have to do is just make sure that it's your main guy, your main defensive guy, who is going to be doing the frontline damage. You do not want the non-defensive guy doing that. This guy is more for offense, and we can switch him to offense now, because look at the damage that we've done to them. They don't have a chance. We've attritioned them already in 3 battles instead of 5 battles. Great! They got nothing against us now, which means we should win this war very handily at this point. Now, would you look at that? We're in a situation where morale is playing a huge factor in the fight, and it looks like, we're probably not going to be able to counterattack this war yet. Normally, it's around fight number 5 that Paraguay can be able to do its counterattack. And this, for us, is effectively fight number 3. But we're impatient. Say we're up against Russia as the Ottomans. We don't really have the time to sit around on our butt and to wait for them to effectively recover right away, because that's exactly what they'll do if we're unfortunate enough to wait. So we're going to take, we'll take 5, no, we'll take 4, we'll just take 4. We'll split it up so that we got 5 guys defending here and 4 guys over here, and we're going to raise those conscripts and station them away. Now, we're going to wait for them to get their morale back, but by doing that, we're forcing them into yet another defensive battle where we have a minor advantage against them. And by doing that, and we put ourselves into rapid advance, we can then move in to the front again. And while they're in the midst of dealing with this defensive battle, the moment that we attack, they're going to have to deal with massive morale problems, gargantuan morale problems. They do not have a chance to recover their morale at this point. It's completely hampered. And even though they have a higher defense than us, their morale is so bad that we have won this fight, even though we haven't even got that amazing of a roll. I mean, their roll is really bad, but ours isn't that amazing. And now that we have such a major advance, we can probably just disband the army into the main army at this point and continually hit them with rapid advance, which doesn't go away, even though we don't have enough dragoons in our army to count towards being half. But it doesn't matter at this point. Just by doing combined arms, or what I like to call 2-army cheese, we have put ourselves in a complete advantage situation where we can completely push these guys down, and we didn't have to wait 5 or 6 battles to do it. We only did it in 4 battles. Now, 4 battles is a heck of a lot faster than 6 battles. You might think that's not a big deal, but again, in situations where you're up against, like, say, the Russians, where they're able to recover really quickly, or even Qing recovers really super insanely quickly. You want to be able to be super duper fast, and you want to take land super duper fast, and you do not want to give them a chance to recover that morale. You want to keep that morale at around 70% for every single battle, and that is exactly what I'm doing now. By keeping their morale low, we're not guaranteed, but we're close to guaranteed to winning every single fight. And that is what 2-army cheese is about. Alright, now we're getting into the really good stuff. Say you want to invade a country that has more troops than you have navies. Do you have a huge amount of population for conscripts, or a large amount of armies that you can keep in reserve? Do you have a technological disadvantage forcing you to do naval invasions with inferior offensive ratings than defensive for them? Well then, Boattrition might be the right method for you. What is Boattrition, you're probably asking? Well, Boattrition is where you intentionally invade with the maximum amount of conscripts that you can do, and deliberately losing each and every naval battle. Look at this, we are getting our asses handed to us in these naval battles. But every single naval battle, we're doing about 100 damage to them. And every single time we do a little bit of damage to them, they get a little bit weaker. Well, look at that. We have so many troops in comparison to them that losing our troops doesn't mean anything. And eventually, despite the fact that we have a disadvantage, even our offense is reduced because, unfortunately, we did this with our Japanese fleet. Well, it doesn't matter because look at how much troops they have left. They've got nobody left to defend with. In fact, what I'm going to do is, because this guy is so heavily damaged at this point, is I'm actually going to cancel the naval invasion here, and I'm going to bring in fresh units who have a nice general who's even better, and we're going to bring him in to do the main damage now. Because these guys are so weak, and it's going to take them a little while to recover. Well, we're not going to give them the time to do that. And because they're so weak, even though we got really bad rolls, they got exceptionally bad rolls too, but even though we got really bad rolls, we're still completely dominating them. And without even trying, they lose. We should not have won that war. They had 5 troops, and we only had 3 Navy ships to invade them with. You're not winning that fight normally. But because we continually hammered them with our conscripts, we used conscripts for this. We don't want to lose our main troops doing this, even though they get a little bit of experience from doing so. It's such a pain to deal with that because you're losing qualifications on there. But the conscripts, we don't care about. Who cares? It's just a little bit of population. We've got plenty of population to go through. We don't care at that point. And they don't get experience anyway, so who cares if they happen to die in the midst of a naval invasion that we know they're not going to actually survive. But there you go. Eventually they get so weak that they'll fold like a lawn chair, and you will only have lost a little bit of population from the conscripts. And again, your professional army, they'll barely lose a thing, and eventually they'll even get a little more extra experience because they're doing a hardcore naval invasion on an extremely weakened army. And that is what Boattrition is. Now, do you find yourself constantly at a disadvantage when you navally invade? Does the AI constantly split their defensive armies to cover land with insane timing that far exceeds human reaction time? Did their navy engage with your navy? It doesn't seem like they're going to do that with me on this run, but it just so happens that they're effectively winning against you in that navy fight, and you're guaranteed to be forced to wait a month or 2 for your navy to repair itself afterwards. Well, that's why boat canceling is the right method for you. What is boat canceling? Well, simply put, boat canceling is setting a naval invasion on a target only to cancel it when the odds are no longer in your favor. Looky here. We won the first one because there was only 10 people guarding here, but now there's 83. We're not winning this fight, and in fact, we're losing people quite handily because of this invasion. Well, what do? Well, just click on the invasion right here that says right here, Naval Invasion Shenzhen. We're going to click Cancel Naval Invasion. And just by doing that, the fight is gone and over. We're no longer losing troops. But here's the catch. What happens right afterwards is both of your units, both your navy and your main army that you just canceled with, are free to attack again. And you can actually pick the exact same place that you did before. And because it takes 7 days for them to arrive, well, that's 7 days for them to pull off their army. And now we went from 83 to 37. And again, we're losing this fight, but we can just cancel. And we did cancel. And then we could just try again. And once more, they split off their army even more. And now we're attacking 10 army units instead of 50. And they went up to 63. Just cancel again. And you know what? We'll even bring in a fresh unit to do the next invasion. How about that? It'll take them a little longer, which gives these guys a little more time to pull away. And if they don't pull away, you can always pick another target. And let's cancel that before the fight starts. And then let's pick another target to try to draw them away. Let's do that. And it did draw them away. Perfect. Now we're going to cancel again. And we're going to pick Shenzhen just like before. And boom, 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 boom. Let's bring our conscript up while we're at it. And now we're hitting 10 units instead of 60. Just like that. And look at that, we're winning now! Because again, we're only dealing with 10 units instead of 60. And just by doing that constantly, eventually you'll be able to pull them away. Now, we're going to keep doing this until there's only 0 guarding. The best way to do that is to keep hitting in other areas so that they can't catch up otherwise. So we're going to go south this time. And we're going to use which guys? This is the 5th Army. Okay, let's bring in the 5th Army. And that pulled 10, most of them away. And now there's only 10 guarding there. Let's cancel that. And we'll once again pull in and try for, how about Shandong? See if we can make landfall here, because I don't think there's anybody guarding here. Oh my gosh, there's 200 guarding there. And let's cancel that one. I definitely don't want to fight that battle. But it looks like they're finally pulling away from Shenzhen, and we might be able to make landfall now. In fact, we can make landfall. They have nobody guarding here because they pulled away. They had another front that they had to pull into. And because of that, we now have landfall and we can bring on our main unit. In fact, we're going to disband to bring our unit in because that's how fast we want them in there. We're not waiting. We're getting them there now. Boom. From that moment on, we can then effectively take Beijing and win the fight. Alright, here it comes. Probably my personal favorite method. Well, second personal favorite. I still kind of like boat canceling a lot more than boat spam. What is boat spam though? Well, say you're up against an enemy with a huge amount of coastal states. And you have a tiny, tiny, insignificant navy that won't be able to force its way through a naval invasion against a greater enemy's defenses. Look at those defenses. How am I supposed to handle that? That's way too much for me. Well, I have a lot of manpower. I got a lot, and I do mean a lot of conscripts, and we're using quite a few conscripts here. So, boat spam is your method. What is boat spam? Now, again, it's simple. By hiring a bunch of extra commanders, we can effectively break up our navy into smaller navies. We have 3 small navies instead of 1. I couldn't make 4 because one of them was a man of war. That happens. But again, we got 3 small navies, and now we have 3 small armies as well. These are tiny, tiny, insignificant armies. They shouldn't be worth anything. And at the same time, they're going to have penalties to their offense. But I'm not worried about that. Why? Because if you time it just correctly, and it's hard to do, mind you, it can be very hard to do, but if you time it just correctly, see, that's 2 weeks, and we're going to use these guys here, and this is going to be 13 days, so 1 day less, and this guy right here should be 13 days. Now, let's bring those conscripts up first, just to make sure that we have our main attackers in place. What's going to happen is these guys are going to attack first. This guy's going to attack last. And what's going to happen is this guy's going to get the full brunt of the defensive force, probably around 20 to 22 units. This guy's going to get the second brunt of the defensive force. Yeah, 30 units right there. This guy's going to get 20 units. And this guy's going to get 10 or less. Yeah, he only has 900, in fact. Absolutely insane. Absolute craziness. Just like that, we have won a battle with 9 units against 87 defenders. Yep, we got 25% right there. Now, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cancel the invasion for the 3rd guy. And you're actually going to want to wait a second for him to actually move back a touch. And the reason why is because you want to be able to take a little time to invade again. You want these guys to actually move in. And if it looks like he's going to be able to invade before these guys actually pull, you're probably going to want to cancel again. And look at that. We get another... Oh, that's not us. Is this one us? Yes, it is. And again, 15k, we're actually winning this fight, but that's okay. Just by doing that, we're able to do this. And if you do it continuously, if you do it quick enough, without having to do too much canceling, you can make landfall. And even if you don't make landfall, one of the benefits of doing this is you're effectively keeping these guys completely hampered, and by pulling them away from other fronts, you can actually move your guys into other fronts. Again, that is the benefit of boat spam, is you're pulling them away. It's kind of like doing delay tactics that we did before, and by pulling them away like this, we can now boat spam up here. We're not going to win the front down here. That doesn't matter, because we don't really have enough troops to do it. But because we pulled them away, we can now win up here. And again, because we have 2 units attacking up here and we keep the majority of them down here, oh geez, they were too busy defending against this guy right here, and they used all 18 of their units. Well, this guy was able to landfall with an attack against 0 units, and look at that, we made landfall. We should not have made landfall, but we did make landfall, and we barely had to do any boat canceling as a result of that, and we didn't even rely on Britain to pull them away. We were the ones who pulled them away by forcing them to defend this area, which is completely, it's not even an area that we wanted to make landfall in, but by keeping them in this area, they left this area open. And again, as I showed you before, by forcing this unit to guard against this unit, see, he still won, but by forcing him to guard against this unit got to make landfall against 0 troops. It's almost as if they weren't even here. Hilarious. And that's why boat spam is ultimately effective. And look at that, I got 2 landfalls. I could probably cancel this one and make 3 landfalls now, but just for fun. Just for fun. Yeah, I didn't even have to do any other tricky deaky stuff. I just made base landfalls. And now I can bring in my main army. I'll just disband them onto here. And, oh, you want to be... Okay, my main army wants to be the one to make landfall. There's nobody even guarding here anymore. They've given up on the area, and that's okay, because now we have a huge amount of troops on the area here. In fact, we can start doing boat spam to take Beijing. And that's what boat spam is. That's every time you hear me say boat spam, that's me using multiple navies to try to take portions here while the main army effectively keeps them busy on the front line. And even if they can't keep them busy on the front line by doing boat spam, you might even get lucky and just get a 0. And if you can't get a 0, you can always cancel and then try in a different spot. And that's what boat spam is all about.